When many people opened their trading apps today, their first reaction was, is the system glitching? Because what they saw was surreal. Their accounts were deep in the red, social media was mourning, and their watch lists were bleeding. Yet, the Shanghai Composite Index was only down by about 1%. The Chinext Index even managed to flip green by the closing bell. What does this feel like? It's like a building with 4,500 rooms on fire, while the giant screen on the roof is still displaying, everything is running smoothly. The most absurd part is that this isn't about sentiment, it's about math. Today, nearly 4,500 stocks across the market declined, with fewer than 1,000 advancing. Semiconductors were hammered, the STAR 50 index dropped over 3%, and the North Securities 50 index collapsed. Yet, the main index somehow managed to hold up. The media might tell you, this is just structural rotation. But what I want to talk about today isn't the market movement itself, it's something much more dangerous. The index may no longer represent the market. You think the Shanghai Composite reflects the A-share market? In reality, it's increasingly looking like a carefully curated storefront. The real question isn't whether the index has fallen. It's this: why does the index look fine when 4,500 stocks are crashing? Who is propping it up? Look at the data from today. Mainforce Capital has seen net outflows exceeding $200 billion over the past 2 days alone, with another $100 billion fleeing just today. The semiconductor sector was dumped for $15.6 billion. ETF Capital has seen a cumulative outflow of nearly $80 billion since May, and Northbound Capital saw over $100 billion flow out in just half a day. Pay attention. These numbers aren't scary when viewed in isolation. What's terrifying is that they are all happening at the same time. What does this mean? The core institutional players are retreating in unison. That smart money is running, passive ETFs are deleveraging, quants are rotating out, and margin positions are loosening. Yet, the index barely budged. Why? Because the A-share market has increasingly become a game of weights. What makes up the index? Banks, insurance, SOEs, and megacaps. As long as these giants don't fall, the index can be stabilized. But the problem is, this isn't what most retail investors are holding. Most of you are holding AI, computing power, robotics, semiconductors, small cap growth, and microcaps. And that's how we ended up in this absurd situation. The index didn't collapse, but your accounts did. This is why many veteran investors have started saying, the index and my account are living in two different worlds. Because they truly are. In the past, when the index fell, everyone lost together. Not anymore. Now, the index stands tall while individual stocks are suffocating. You're witnessing a terrifying shift. The A-share market is evolving from a broad market into a local storefront. That line on your screen looks increasingly like it's being staged. Many people have a misconception about ETFs, thinking they are stabilizers. In reality, at times, they become the biggest source of selling pressure. Why? Because ETFs have no emotions. They don't judge the market, they only execute rules. Take a broad-based ETF tracking the CSI 300, for example. When certain stocks rise, it automatically increases its allocation. When they fall, it cuts them. Here is the kicker: when market style becomes extremely polarized, this mechanical rebalancing amplifies the stampede. What's happening now? Capital is frantically crowding into a few megacaps, while a sea of small caps and tech growth stocks are being left behind. Consequently, ETFs are forced to sell off the weak and double down on the strong. This creates a terrifying loop: the losers fall further, and the winners are pushed higher. You think someone is intentionally crashing the market? Actually, often, no one is. The rules are just executing themselves. This is the most dangerous part of today's market. More and more trading is no longer determined by humans, but by models, algorithms, rebalancing, and passive tracking. The market has entered a non-human stampede. It has no emotion, no panic, but it is constantly bleeding you dry. Many people haven't realized yet, the fundamental problem with the A-share market isn't the drop, it's the lack of new capital. That is the core issue. Look at the recent turnover, trillions of yuan a day. It looks busy, but the truth is, most of this money is just participants cutting each other's throats within the same pool. What does that mean? AI rises today, new energy dies tomorrow, liquor bounces back the next day, and semiconductors crash the day after. Capital isn't increasing, it's just jumping from one trap to another. So, what does the market look like now? Like a pool where the total water level never changes, but everyone is frantically scooping with buckets. If you get an extra scoop, someone else gets less. This is a classic zero-sum game. The most terrifying thing about a zero-sum game is that it causes the market to lose its ability to create win-win outcomes. A bull market used to mean everyone made money because new capital was entering. Not now. Now, the money you make is essentially the money someone else lost. As a result, the market is becoming increasingly extreme, herding, rotating, and stampeding. Because every inflow necessitates an outflow elsewhere. That's why you've noticed the sector rotation is insanely fast. This isn't a bull market, this is a retreat. Capital is constantly looking for the next safe island. But the problem is, there are fewer islands left. And here comes the real danger, index distortion. We used to take it for granted that the index equals the market. That's no longer true. Now, the index is more like a weighted showroom. A handful of megacaps dictate the direction, while the vast majority of real stocks are marginalized. Today, you see an extreme picture, 4,500 stocks falling, but a few heavyweights hold the line, and the index remains stable. What's the consequence? Market perception becomes distorted. People are being fooled by the index. The news will tell you, the market is stable. But your account is bleeding. The media will say, the index is still within its trading range. But small caps are in a localized crash. Retail investors are feeling a massive disconnect. Why is the market in the news so different from the market I see? Because it truly isn't the same. The current index is increasingly a financial facade. It represents core weights, state team stabilizers, and institutional allocation needs, but it no longer represents the actual profit and loss of retail investors. That's why you've noticed a trend lately. Many have stopped looking at the index because it's meaningless. What really drives sentiment now is the median return, the breadth of the market, microcaps, and liquidity structure. In other words, the A-share market is moving from the index era into the era of structural tearing. And this is the most dangerous change today. Many think this is just a routine correction. But I'm increasingly convinced that the underlying logic of the market has changed. The problem with A-shares used to be volatility, now, it's structure. Previously, an index drop signaled risk. Now, even if the index is stable, risk could be spreading beneath the surface. What does this mean? It means traditional wisdom is failing. Using the index to judge sentiment doesn't work anymore. High turnover isn't necessarily a good thing, it might just be participants trampling each other. The entire market is entering a precarious state, stable on the surface, hemorrhaging internally. The most dangerous systems don't collapse overnight. They hollow out from within while everything still looks normal. The A-share market today has a bit of that flavor. The index is like a meticulously maintained billboard, but the steel beams behind it are already snapping. The real question isn't how much we fell today. It is, if new capital continues to stay away, who will be left to catch the falling knife? When ETFs continue to drain liquidity, when main force capital continues to retreat, when margin calls begin, and when high-flying tech stocks lose their liquidity, how long can an index propped up by a few weights actually last? If you've started to feel that the index is becoming a stranger, and your account and the news are living in two different worlds, then you've likely caught a glimpse of the deepest shift in the A-share market. Hit subscribe. In the next episode, we'll continue to deconstruct the hidden structures beneath the market.